How many screens do you have on your iPhone? I've got 2. So, let's check it out. My first concern with this case, considering there's a whole freaking screen on the back of it, was how fragile it would be. But holding it in the hand, made of stiff plastic all around with a matte textured finish, you kind of forget there's even a screen there because of how sturdy everything actually feels. Inside the box, you get a proprietary charging and sync cable for the case, instructions on how to use the case, and a separate sheet on how to actually remove the case with the assistance of this. Installation is the simple part, just going in volume side first and snapping the opposite corners in place. Due to how stiff the case is and not being able to bend it for the obvious reasons on the back, to remove the case you'll have to push through the camera hole, then stick this baby in and slide it along to pop it out. Mastering the guitar is optional. The buttons are fairly flush against the edge but give a really satisfying click response. The mute rocker cutout is fairly tight, so you will need a nail to get to it. And the camera cutout is unobstructed, with the case being thick enough to cover it on tabletops. Cutouts are at the bottom with a large lightning cutout for cables and the classic lightning dock. But there's a special magnetic connection for the screen itself, as it runs off its own 460 mAh battery and uses the proprietary cable we saw earlier. Like the MacBook MagSafe cables, it connects into place magnetically, albeit only in one orientation. Lastly, on the screen itself are 4 inputs. The first is a tactile power sleep button, and on top of that are a row of touch keys, the left and right being to navigate, and finally the select or action key in the center. It's pretty simple, reminds you of the 90s, but it's exactly what you'll need to operate your screen. Although the screen isn't touch responsive, so it may take some getting used to the old school button style navigation. But this 4.3-inch e-ink display on the back of the case is why you're willing to pay over $100 for this case. At only 4.1mm thick, it feels thinner than most cases, and although the screen's hard edges can dig into your hand, the matte exterior finish compensates for that, making it comfortable to hold as the edges and screen don't grease up. For those who don't read and didn't buy an e-reader like the Kobo or Kindle, e-ink displays are, for the most part, black and white displays, which means each pixel is either black or white. And if left idle, it doesn't consume any energy and the screen you last had on will stay there indefinitely. The battery built in is only used when you change what's on the screen, such as flipping through photos or pages, and there's no backlight built in like your iPhone screen to constantly be draining power. The e-ink screen is also anti-glare, which means it can be read under any light, at any angle really, and it's amazing during the daytime. But unfortunately that means it can't be used in the absence of light. If you don't use it at all, it's rated to have a 5-day standby time, as batteries do drain themselves. In my tests, I got about 3 to 4 days max just idling, but I tend to charge it nightly along with my iPhone. I got through about 2 full days of usage before it dies out, but the battery is rated up to 3,400 page flips, which isn't as much as you think. Considering the smaller screen size, you're reading less text per page, therefore flipping more than usual. In terms of quality, you're looking at a 480 by 800 resolution, and for what it's designed for, it's actually quite sharp. But what can an extra screen actually do for you? First, you'll have to download the supporting app under InkCase in the App Store to get your iPhone to communicate with the case via Bluetooth 4.0. Connecting the two devices are as simple as connecting any Bluetooth device. There are 4 modes available corresponding to each tab at the bottom of the app, but as an overview, the case is either used for reading like a Kobo or Kindle in the reader or read it later mode. Otherwise, it's used as a personalization tool for your iPhone with information at a glance with widgets or photos to show off. So first, reading. The case is able to read EPUB or text files, which can be transferred into the app either through iTunes or my preferred method by sending the file through email. To get the book onto the case though, select the book in the Reader tab, which will then allow you to select which section of it or all of it to be transferred to the case. I'm actually a big fan of how simple they made this transfer process. Once the book is sent over to the case, head over to the reading mode by double tapping the center button, and everything is pretty straightforwardly laid out, making it quick to just pick up and go. The anti-glare screen is like staring at paper. No bright lights shining back at you causing any eye strain, and if you already use an e-reader, you know what I mean. Back when I did read, I would carry this around along with my other gadgets. It's not huge or difficult to carry, but it was another device I had to keep track of. But having it stuck to my iPhone now, for one, it's made it easier for me to read when I want, albeit still very little, and 2, I don't have to remember where I left another physical device. For being touch buttons, they're really responsive, so you're not smashing them down to get them to work like other touch style buttons. And when you decide to stop reading, to avoid touching the buttons by accident, you can lock the screen by tapping the tactical button on the bottom, handy so you don't lose your page while reading. Next, the Read It Later function utilizes the Pocket service and will sync the 40 latest articles you've saved and download it to your case when you refresh. If you find an article while you're browsing the web, you can send it directly to the InkCase, where it'll sync to your Pocket account and resync your top 40 to your case again. The experience for articles is the same as the reader as well. It's just nice to have them separated to stay organized. Next is my favorite, photos. The case can hold up to 10 at once, and you'll need to sync each photo one at a time from the app. There's an editor to add filters, which basically adds contrast to your photos, and I highly recommend it to have your photos pop on the e-ink screen. One other fun edit they have is to add text to photos, but in my case, just straight up make wallpapers out of them. You can have photos to cheer up your day with this, use it as a functional scannable wallet with QR codes or even a Starbucks banner, but my favorite is to have your secret stash there because no one will ever look here. No judgments as to what you like, maybe even this sexy man. When you're not using the readers, it's just a fun way to spice up the back of your case to pretty much anything you want. Lastly, the widgets mode is a quick overview of your day as it syncs to your calendar and reminders app, although only reminders set to high importance will show up. It doesn't do much but give you glanceable information as it doesn't show notifications, messages, or incoming calls. It's my least favorite simply because it requires a constant connection to your iPhone to stay up to date, and it also requires constant screen flips to keep the time updated, which means more battery drain when you're not actively using the case, which can bring your idle time down to 1 or 2 days only. In the end, it's still a case, so how well does a stiff plastic design protect your iPhone? Well, there's a decent amount of bezel around the screen to keep it safe on tabletops, but they've also included their Bubble Pro technology, which is just their patented impact dispersion. For general drops, it holds up really well. I would be worried for higher drops though, as you now have 2 screens to worry about, but the e-ink display is rated at a 9H hardness, and for anyone that doesn't know what that means, let's find out. So yeah, throwing this into your pocket with change and keys will be just fine. My only complaint is the software connectivity from the app to the case. A few times I tried to sync my book, it said complete on my phone but didn't show up on the case. It's a minor issue that is resolved with a restart, and definitely not a deal breaker if you're big on books. Their app is continually updated, and you can connect the case to your computer to actually update the firmware of the device to keep it running smoothly. I also ran into the case freezing as well, but they thankfully include a failsafe restart method by holding down the power button for 10 seconds. Something to be expected, and it doesn't occur often, but like any device, it has some hiccups. If you're a fan of e-readers, use the code AccessorizeMe and save 10%. That just means one less thing to carry around. If you're not a fan of books or reading though, it's still a very customizable case, but at a hefty cost. The case and review are sponsored by Oaxis, which supports what I do on this channel, but I got complete creative freedom and all opinions expressed are from my own brain. That's it. If you love what you see and want to support me in creating more reviews, head over to our Patreon and enter our monthly giveaway. Like and subscribe if you want to see more, and leave a comment below letting me know what case you want me to review next. I rest my case.